Yeah, so I thought that I agree with everything that President Martin said. I would also say that I thought what was important about President Obama's remarks was that he reminded the graduates that for almost 200 years since the start of the first historically Black college, the graduates of these institutions have gone on to help our country solve some of their most complex problems. And that his was a call to leadership and to service. And if you think about the disproportionate impact that historically Black colleges have had, in particular, if you look at the last century, you cannot write the history of that century without writing about historically Black colleges. And if we continue to do our jobs in the way that our predecessors did it in the last century, that will be true of the 21st century. And the COVID moment calls us to rethinking, in some ways, many of our assumptions about what that might look like. It also calls us to see a different way in which race is one of the divides that our country continues to have to grapple with. It is more invisible, but no less deep or insidious, the result that our communities are disproportionately affected by the COVID moment, as I like to call it, rather than the COVID crisis. And I call it the COVID moment because crisis would simply call us to sort of manage in this moment to survive, manage in this time to survive. I think the COVID moment calls us to also ask what new and innovative ideas and visions for service and leadership can come out of this moment. I know here at Morehouse, I arrived 2.5 years ago. Many of my faculty were still having the discussion about whether or not a liberal arts college like Morehouse should invest in distance learning. Well, overnight, we took an entire curriculum online. And while, we're learning ways in which we've got to do that better, we've moved into a new space that we can leverage to serve the world in deeper and bolder ways and to enhance what we do right here on this campus when our students return. The other element that I think, was called to mind for me is just the tremendous way in which our institutions have responded to this moment. From our students to our alumni to our parents here at Morehouse, I've literally seen acts of courage, humility, and generosity that let me know that the future's bright with our young people who will come to lead the world in this 21st century. So I thought President Obama's speech just sort of captured all of that kind of in a capsule in that moment yesterday.
President Thomas, please share with us briefly how we can help Morehouse College.
Time, talent, and treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Time relates to things like President Martin already laid out in terms of taking the time to tell the story, to be an ambassador. Talent. What comes with your talent is your network. Many of the people on this who are listening to this program are distinguished in their fields. Lend your networks to us. It's not just a matter of what you can give, but who you can connect us to bring them to the story of places like Wilberforce, North Carolina A&T. I've been blessed with that experience since I've been at Morehouse. Robert Smith was not a Morehouse graduate, had never visited Morehouse's campus, but one of my board members had Robert Smith in his network and said, I'll bring Robert Smith to Morehouse. It's up to you
That's right.
at Morehouse to engage him. And the first time he came, he gave us $1 million, and everybody knows the story last year. That all happened within 18 months. Other people, because of their talent, can open their networks to us and treasure.
That's right.
You know, and it's amazing to me, having been at several institutions that are very well endowed, that if you look at the history of accomplishment of their African-American students and compare it to some of the very schools that are represented right here in this photo op, it doesn't compare.
Yep.
It doesn't compare, but our endowments, no one has $1 billion endowment.
That's right.
Right? Whereas I was dean at Georgetown, $1.8 billion endowment. I was, you know, right? I can go down the list, and there's something there that has to do with, you know, and even I see among my alumni who were Harvard Business School graduates, and I see what they give at the Harvard Business School reunion. Many of them have never thought about giving to Morehouse what they give at the Harvard Business School reunion.
Right.
Right. And, you know, I'm sure I'll get some emails with people saying, why did you out us? Right.
You're gonna
But
get
that's about
Yeah.
really asking ourselves, are these institutions important?